Hello. I should be theoretically live. And I believe that you can see the game. Excellent. Well, good evening. As the title suggests, I'm just gonna do some driving. Haven't done that much of late. Due to being busy. Due to real world things. Can't think of anything worse than having to deal with the real world, so VR. VR is a universal solution to this. Now, interesting development. My YouTube chat is not working in my headset, so I'm going to have to figure that out at some point. I'm going to do a very, very quick Google search to see if there is a way to solve that, but I don't think there is, and therefore we're just going to have to deal with it. Look. I don't think there is any way of fixing this. So we are just going to deal with it. Never mind. So if you send a message in chat, I will view it when I crash. It's going to be a very uninteractive stream as a result. I mean, maybe at some point I'm going to give up and go into 2D anyway, depending on how tired my face gets. But in the meantime, we're here at the Nordschleife, just the regular Nordschleife, and we are in the United Racing Design, URD, 2021 Porsche Cup car. That's what this car is that you are seeing on screen. It is wonderful to drive. It's great fun, and it's a great car for this track as well. So I thought I'd give it a go, thought I'd have a bit of fun driving around, see if I can remember how to drive the Nordschleife, because it's been a while. So I guess step one is to get out on track and see what's up. One thing that is very strange about driving around the Nordschleife in VR is just how aggressive you find the elevation change. Driving in 2D in a sim really does not do this justice of just how big those curbs are, how cambered like that corner is, things like that. So we're gonna see lots of crashes, lots of spins, lots of lockups, I would imagine, but also it's going to be a wild ride. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is the URD Porsche Cup car. It's a mod. It is a paid mod. You want to get it, just Google URD Porsche Cup. It'll show up. It is great fun. As you okay. It is a Porsche though. And so we'll do that. It is great fun. Now my rear left tire is on fire, so that's interesting. Yeah, it's great fun to drive. It's much more planted than the than the one that's included with the Assetto Corsa. So there's the 2017 Porsche Cup car included with AC, with one of the, I think it's with one of the DLCs. That is grass. Get off the grass. There we go. This is, of course, not from 2017. It is the latest model, the 992 generation of Porsche Cup car. Which, from what I can tell, is a much more stable, much less rear-engined feeling car. But it is still very much rear-engined, as we found out with our little spin a second ago. So, oh god, oh god. I am not doing well on the brakes at the moment. Can I change the brake bias? Yeah, I'm going to move the brake bias forwards a notch. That might help. Yeah, so generally quite a strange car to get used to. Rear-engined, quite a lot of power, not that much in the way of aero. I mean, it has a bit, it has a big old wang on the back. Not adjustable front splitter, but adjustable rear wing. Very stiff. So you'll see that on a lot of these curbs, going over a lot of the bumps around the Nordschleife, when we get up to the carousel, you'll see those bumps through the carousel as well are aggressive in this car. But yeah, it's lively around this track. And it doesn't necessarily, on a track like this, instill you with that much confidence. If I compare this to how this car drives around a more traditional track, even something like the Nürburgring GP circuit, around there it is much more stable. It is very confidence-inspiring. And I can see why it's the sort of car that, you know, aspiring racing drivers and I got kicked out. Okay. And, you know, gentleman drivers who've got a lot of money but maybe not that much skill. I can see why it's the sort of car that they would like to get into, because it does kind of suit the hop in and go for it style of driving. So it's probably a good car for me to have a go at, considering that I've not driven the Nordschleife in a long time. So you'll see that some of my lines here are a little bit rough. Trying to remember how much speed I can carry through these corners in this car. The answer is, of course, probably more than I currently am, but... Okay, okay, alright, and I've hit the wall. Very stiff. I think I'm going to try and loosen the car a little bit back in the pits. I don't know, I don't know if this setup is particularly suited to this track. Brakes, I'm going to move those 1% forwards. Right, stiffness, what are we looking at? Very low. Right, so you can't change the dampers, you can't change the wheel rates, but you can change the anti-roll bars. They're already fairly soft. I wouldn't have thought that I would want those any softer than that. I'm going to leave those for now. I'm going to maybe, though, just raise the ride height a little bit. Maybe add a little bit more rake. So raising the ride height, so obviously that's not going to change the stiffness particularly. Well, it might do a bit. Not being an expert engineer on how springs work, I'm not 100% sure of that, but I don't think it will massively change the spring rate, but what it will do is it will stop me from making the bump stops as much. And those bump stops are the stiff bit that is probably kicking me out of a lot of these corners, kicking me off of these curbs, things like that. Rear wing wise, we're on 5. I could probably reduce that. But can I change the gears? No, I can't change the gears. So at the moment, I'm reaching my top speed, which means I don't think that I really want to take any more rear wing off, especially because I'm already a little bit unstable under braking. I've already got a little bit of that kind of Porsche waggle, the rear end. So I'm going to raise that suspension a bit. Toe, what are we looking at with the toe? Yeah, the rear is towed in. The front is towed out, but it could probably be towed out a little bit more. That might make it just a little bit sharper on turning, which would be nice. And the tyre pressures, I have no idea. So let's save that and let's go for another run, but this time hopefully not bin it so spectacularly. Am I lined up here? Yeah, I am. Cool. So I've got ABS, but I don't have traction control. Now it's a good job that I've got ABS, because being in a rear engine car, front locking is a thing. It is a thing to try and deal with. So it's nice to have the ABS there, but not having traction control can sometimes make it a little bit sketchy. Now, rear engined, so again, lots of grip, but it is worth noting that I've got all that weight over the rear axle, so accelerating in a straight line, plenty of grip. The issue comes... Okay. The issue comes... That was sketchy. The issue comes when accelerating coming out of a corner. If you get it wrong on those sort of fairly low-speed corners, then it can catch you out. I'm going for a 7th gear that doesn't exist there. Okay. We'll see if this is any more stable. I mean, it will definitely help now that I've not spun quite as early on in the lap, so maybe my rears won't be quite as toasty. That was so slow through there. Stop hitting those curbs. And I just get sucked out onto the curb again. Right. Nordschleifer is not really my natural home. Oh, I did it again! As you can tell, I don't seem to know the width of the track. I don't know when the last time I will have put any time into driving the Nordschleifer will be. It was probably in a GT3 car though. And of course this has probably the power of a GT3 car, but nowhere near the downforce. So it's those high-speed turns that it's a very, very different experience. But one thing that is nice about the Porsche Cup car is that where a GT3 car is very planted, really doesn't want to slide, you know, you want to start using that aero. Obviously, it's not quite a prototype or a formula car, but it is a fairly planted aero-dominated car. This isn't, It has a lot more play in it. It likes to move around, likes to slide. It's adjustable on throttle. You can drift it, but you are just struggling with that stiffness. It's the main thing that makes it challenging. Brake later into that. Okay, let's see if I can get into the carousel this time. Slowly, but yes. I've never been good at the carousel. And I remain bad at the carousel. That was bad. I do sometimes get lost in this section of the track, because I know some of the corners, but I don't know all of them. Oh, turned in too early. Okay. See what I mean? Yeah, that's probably my worst part of the whole track. The section immediately following the carousel. Oof. It's a little bit sketchy through there. Okay. It's a lot sketchy through there. That whole section is flat in a GT3 car. And in this, it is right on the edge. Okay. Have I got this right? No, I was on throttle too early. Oh well. And now for the really long straight. Front right is a bit cold. Could do with a bit more pressure. 1 more PSI in the front right. So, lap record is apparently a 6:50 in this car. I don't think I'm going to get anywhere close. But let's have a look. Okay, I'm not going to get anywhere close if I'm that nervous under braking and if I keep nibbling curves like that. Alright. Not the worst first few corners I've ever done in my life. A little bit of curb. A little bit more curb. Not too terrible. Not too terrible at all. I mean, not too great, but I've done worse. Okay. Ooh, that was close. Right, into here I've got to be brave. Like that. All in all, not too terrible. Could become a theme of this lap, it being not great, not terrible. Again, not great, not terrible. Wave at the tree. I don't know where that is from, where that originates, but I picked it up off Jimmy Broadbent. I have no idea if he started it and if he did, why. But now every time I see the tree, I remember to wave at the tree. Oh, that was bad. That was terrible. Okay, so we've moved from not great, not terrible to not great and quite terrible. So that's the slowest corner on the track. This corner is really easy to understeer on. Now, Nicky Lauda's crash corner, I do believe, is flat out. I can brake later than that sign. It's braking at the sort of warning sign on the right hand side. I can brake later than that into that. Now coming up the hill is all just about trying to minimize the amount of steering angle that you're putting in, minimize the distance. Try not to upset the car until we come to that kink where I cannot take that kink flat, not in this. Oh, that wasn't great. Oof, right. Let's try not get murdered by the carousel. Okay. Didn't get murdered by the carousel. Did exit a little bit too early, but just a little safety lift there, because the last time I was on the AstroTurf on the outside, which is not really where you want to be. On the curb. Oh, didn't quite get onto the other curb. Oh god, getting in the camber, which is good. Could have carried a bit more speed into there, but that corner sketches me out every time I go through it. Over the crest. Towards the jump. Okay. Oof. Understeer that. Front of the car starting to lift over some of these jumps, which is not good. Okay. Wouldn't want to brake any later into there. That was a little bit sketchy. I could feel the rear of the car moving. Oh, I missed the second carousel. I hate that corner. It's so terrible. Fuel level. That's interesting. Do I actually have enough fuel to get me to the end of the lap? I don't know when alarm fuel level comes on. Well, we're about to find out, aren't we? Yeah, still need to increase that pressure by 1. Front right pressure. And add a bit more fuel, apparently. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a 650. I think we're too far away for a 650. But maybe a sub 7 minute. If I don't mess up these last few corners. Okay. What was that lap time? 6:55. That's not too bad. 4th on the leaderboard. That's not too bad. I'm not too displeased with that lap, all things considered. Let's do that and let's add a bit more fuel. Or I forget, up to like 40 litres. Right. Oh. That was alright. I've done worse. I've certainly done worse. 6:55. Yeah, I mean it was tentative, don't get me wrong. Certainly tentative. A little bit sketchy in parts. A few moments there where I almost died catastrophically. But for the most part, managed to survive. I think that maybe what I need to do is actually lower the front a bit more. Because I was lifting, like the front, I could feel the front kind of lifting a little bit, which a bit more rake might help with. The stiffness can't be helped. But maybe just lowering the front and leaving the rear as it is, so more rake, getting a bit more downforce on the front, maybe might just slightly help. I mean, there's only one way to find out. But yeah. Let's find out. Whew. Suspension, we want, yeah, front ride height being on 10 is quite a lot. So if I reduce that to like 5. It's still not too low for those big old curbs. But I still need to be able to eat as hard as I can. But yeah, might not be too bad. Let's find out. One thing that I don't know is whether the audio is okay on the stream, so let me just test that before I go any further. Let's skip back to a moment when I'm driving. Terrible. Yeah, we could do with a bit more game audio, couldn't we? It's quite quiet for me, so I'm just going to turn it up in game. One issue with driving a lot of mod cars in AC is they are all at slightly different volumes. So this is a relatively quiet one. I was driving the F1 car recently, and that car is loud. The RSS Formula Hybrid, I mean. It is a loud, loud car. I mean, as you would expect it's a Formula One car, but in terms of balancing one's audio, it can be a little bit frustrating. Right, let's go out for another one. I'm also just gonna move that brake bias back 1 click. Well, half a click, in fact. In the setup menu, you can move it by a whole %, whereas in-game using a button, you can move it by half a %, which can be very useful for tweaking. But a good tip for everybody out there, if you are doing that in AC, you do want to adjust your brake bias in the car. So let's say your optimal brake bias is, what's mine at right now? 60.5. Set it to 61 in the setup menu. Don't set it to 60. Because accidentally finding out that your brake bias is slightly too far forwards means you lock up. Accidentally finding out that your brake bias is slightly too far rearward means you spin and hit the wall. Which might not be too much of an issue when you're hot lapping. I mean, it'll be annoying for me because I'll have to do a whole outlap of the Nordschleife, which can take quite a while. But if you're in a race, that can be infuriating. You know, you do all that practice, you find the perfect setup, load into the game, load your setup, forget to adjust the brake bias forwards, and spin. Generally, locking a front is not as much of an issue as locking the rear. That's very sloppy through there. Car feels okay. Okay. Yeah, the issue with a Nordschleife setup, especially when it's not that adjustable, like this car isn't, is it's always going to be a compromise. For a normal circuit, let's take, I don't know, Spa, for example. There are certain corners that you might want to prioritize. So maybe you're going to prioritize getting the car to be a nice, stable platform through radial, which is going to save you a lot of time down the straight. Or maybe your problem corner is braking into pool, you know, downhill braking. You want to make sure that you've got a nice, stiff front heave spring, something like that. To avoid the car from pivoting on you when you hit the brakes. Or whatever it might be. Various different places around the lap that you might want to adjust it for. And then you can slightly sacrifice, I don't know, no name, for example, because it's always going to understeer through no name because it's off camber, for example. That would be a normal setup approach. The problem with the Nordschleife is, any setup decision you make is going to work for half the corners, and it's not going to work for the other half. For example, I've added a bit of rake, which I think is going to give me a little bit more bite where I need it, which would be nice. And so far it feels quite good. However, some of those downhill braking zones are now just a little bit sketchier than they were before, which is a problem. What I could do, if I remembered, because the issue is that I will definitely forget, is I could adjust my brake bias through the lap. Okay. Yeah, that is a big amount of bouncing on those curbs. Basically, the dampers are just not set up for a track like this. They're set up for like a smooth Grand Prix circuit. Porsche Super Cup tend to follow the F1 calendar. The bumpiest circuit they do is Monaco, so this is a lot sketchier a track. Exited the little carousel, the second carousel, a little bit too early. A little bit of a lift there allows me to get on the throttle and stay on the throttle, which probably helps me all the way down this straight, to be honest. Don't know why I changed gear there. There is no 7th gear. Ooh, that's sketchy. I'm going to move that brake bias back forwards. Back forwards? Forwards. Return the brake bias to its forward position. Oh, let's understand. Oh, well. Alright, let's try and nail this first sector a little bit more, because last time it was not a good first sector, was it? Quite a hot front left. It's not going to help me. That is a lot of understeer. Okay. Slightly better through there, I think. Bit of slightly sketchy curb usage, perhaps. Better across there. Coming down the hill. Let's try not to be too brave through here, because it is easy to scare oneself. Okay, yeah, brake bias is about right there. I could feel being right on the limit there. I was using the ABS, but not too much. Didn't overheat any tires, didn't start moving around too much either on the rear, which is good. Okay, missed that curb. But it was a faster approach, which has gained me time, I feel. Felt like it's gained time. Well, I've got a green thing on the dash there, 1.34 seconds. Up on my previous time. Ooh. That's cost me some time. I mess up that corner every time I drive the Nordschleife. It's my #1 problem corner after the carousel, I think. Ooh, bit of understeer there. Okay, not too bad. Through that slow section through there. Wasn't going too slowly. Now for this long climb up the hill. Flat out through Niki Lauda's crash corner. I can brake after that sign. Oh god, maybe that was... Oh, I could have... that wasn't too bad. It just felt like it was. I think the line wasn't great. I think I need to brake slightly more diagonally into there. Or maybe just the earlier braking was the way to do it. Stop it being so sketchy. Right, here we go. Coming up to the kink up here. Just going to be a dab of the brakes and a downshift. Perfect. Well, not perfect, but much better. That's where the rake really helps at high speed. Slightly better carousel. Am I going to need a safety lift through here? Yeah, just a touch of a lift. More of a blend. I wasn't fully off the throttle. Here we go. Ooh, that was bad. Quite easy to just get into a slow slide around some of these corners, which just ruins you. Coming down to the jump now, being more aggressive over the jump. On the grass! That's not good. Okay. Okay. Into the second carousel that time, didn't miss it. That's good. No. No. Okay. Oh, that was bad. I'm going to lose time all the way down here. I'm going to lose this time all the way down the straight. What am I up by? 2.68. 2.67. Okay, I've lost a bit of time. 2.66. Now I don't want to be quite as aggressive into the braking zone because last time I scared myself. There we go, that was a 6:52. Puts me second on the leaderboard. I'm quite happy with that. All in all, 6:52. Not too slow. I'd say that was a success. That is a lap time I can be vaguely happy with. There's I mean, you know, throughout that lap, there's plenty of corners that I could massively improve on, really, but having not driven this car in a while, having not driven this circuit in a while, I'm all in all quite pleased with that. So now that I'm sweaty, that might be a good time to call it for now. So, if anybody did watch, I hope you enjoyed. Maybe I'll upload some videos at some point. We'll see. Otherwise, have a good evening, everybody. Bye-bye.